You know, when we talk about Beyoncé, we're not just talking about a pop star. We're really talking about a cultural architect. I mean, someone who has fundamentally redesigned the entire entertainment industry pretty much through sheer will, incredible discipline, and a vision that is just second to none. So how did she actually build this empire?
Okay, let's just start with one staggering fact. Beyoncé holds the record for the most Grammy wins of any individual in history. Period. Not just any singer, I'm talking more than any classical conductor, any rock legend, any producer, ever. Now, a number like that, it doesn't just represent hit songs. It represents decades of strategic, absolute dominance. And believe me, it all started with a plan.
And that plan, well, its roots aren't on some global stage. They're back in Houston, Texas. You see, her success was never an accident. It wasn't a lucky break. It was engineered right from the time she was a kid. Her father, Matthew, who was a sales executive, he saw her talent super early on. And he applied this almost business-like rigor to her development as an artist. He created what Beyoncé herself calls a boot camp, which was basically a training system designed to build the perfect entertainer from the ground up.
And when I say boot camp, I mean it. This was intensely physical. We are not just talking about voice lessons here. She was literally running for miles while singing. The whole point was to build superhuman lung capacity and perfect breath control. So think about it. When you see her on stage today, just crushing a high-energy, super complex dance routine without ever missing a single note, you're seeing the results of a foundation that was laid decades ago.
But here's the thing. It wasn't a straight shot to the top, not at all. Her early group, Girls' Time, they famously lost on the national TV show Star Search. But instead of discouraging her, these early failures, they just became fuel for the fire. It's like they hardened her, turning her into this industry veteran before she was even 20 years old.
So that foundation built a performer, right? But her solo career, that required a whole new kind of architecture. I mean, after the insane success of Destiny's Child, she had to go from being the star of a group to being this singular, iconic force. And that takes more than just talent. It takes some serious psychological tools.
And you can see this strategy taking shape even before her solo debut. You remember the song Survivor? Well, that wasn't just a catchy hit. It was a direct musical clapback to all the critics and the jokes about the group's lineup changes. And this is so brilliant because it shows a key strategy she would use for her entire career, using her art to control her own story.
Now this is fascinating. The Beyoncé you see commanding a stadium, that's not the same person off stage. She said it herself. She's naturally introverted, she's private. So how do you handle the sheer intensity of that kind of performance? Well, she created an alter ego, Sasha Fierce. That's the aggressive, powerful, absolutely fearless performer you see on stage. And look, here it is in our own words. Sasha Fierce was never a marketing gimmick. She was a shield. She was a necessary creation that allowed an introvert to become, well, the world's greatest living entertainer. It was a tool for survival and for dominance. But the performance is only half the battle. The next big evolution was moving from superstar to power broker. She went from being the product to becoming the CEO. And this whole transition can be marked by one pivotal, absolutely decisive move. In 2011, she parted ways professionally with her father, who had managed her entire career up to that point. And this wasn't just some small change. This was a declaration of independence. From that moment on, she had absolute creative and business autonomy. So with that control, what does she do? She immediately sets her sights on something way bigger, rewriting the rules of the entire music industry. So how do you even do that? How do you change everything, literally, overnight? You do it with a single secret click. In December 2013, with absolutely zero warning, no promotion, no singles, nothing, an entire album just appeared for sale on iTunes. I mean, you really can't overstate how huge this move was. By just skipping the entire traditional promotional cycle, she got rid of the risk of leaks and created this massive cultural event out of thin air. She also popularized the visual album, setting a whole new creative standard. And the success was so immediate and so overwhelming that it permanently shifted the entire industry's global release day from Tuesday to Friday, a practice that is still in place to this day. She literally changed the calendar for everyone. So now she's fully in control. And Beyoncé starts to use her platform not just to release music, but to build these massive, meaningful cultural events that are so much more than just a simple concert or an album. I mean, look no further than her 2018 Coachella performance, which we all now know as Coachella.
She was the first Black woman to ever headline the festival, and she didn't just put on a show. No way. She staged a massive tribute to the culture of historically Black colleges and universities, with a full marching band, over 100 dancers, all rehearsed for up to 15 hours a day. It was unbelievable.
And just look at the pace and the sheer ambition of her work since she took full control. She started creating entire cultural moments. In 2016, you had Lemonade, that raw, stunning visual album exploring Black womanhood. Then Homecoming, which immortalized Coachella. And now she's in this huge 3-act project, systematically reclaiming Black contributions to major genres, first with the celebration of house and ballroom culture and Renaissance, and then the deep dive into country music's roots with Cowboy Carter. See, each project isn't just an album, it's a deliberate architectural statement.
So how do we even begin to summarize a legacy like this? Well, it all comes back to a core principle that was established way back in her childhood, a relentless, almost obsessive perfectionism. This little story from her collaborators, it says everything. I want you to just imagine finishing a 2-hour, physically grueling stadium show. And your very first move is to go backstage, rewatch the entire thing, and take detailed notes on lighting cues and camera angles to email your team for the next show. That is the work ethic that underpins the entire empire.
And that evolution is really the core of her story. She began as this incredible raw talent that was then ruthlessly refined by discipline. She transformed herself from a curated pop product into a completely autonomous artist. And in doing so, she went from being just an entertainer to being the one who dictates the very pulse of the culture.
She is the ultimate example of control, of vision, and of execution in modern culture. And as we've seen time and time again, an architect's work is never truly done. Which just leaves us with one final, very exciting question. What on earth will she build next?